This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson. I'm also here with Jared Davis. It's Iron Bowl week. It is such a fun rivalry, and I think over the last couple weeks, I think this has energized the fans even just a little bit more about this week. Alabama's not the invincible kind of team that they've typically been in the past. And guess what? Auburn's up on the upswing under Cadillac Williams. Jared, how you doing? And how are you feeling about this Iron Bowl?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. War Eagle, happy to be here. I don't know. I mean, the Iron Bowl, I will say this. Having Cadillac gives me at least a small chance of hope. Without him, I had none. So, but, it's good to have a little bit of hope. And at the end of the day, we're playing with house money here. We're not supposed to win. If we win, it'll be an incredible story one day about what Cadillac was able to do.
Let's run down that scenario. If he does win it, do we just say to all the other coaches, sorry, we're going Cadillac's way? Is that a legit scenario that you think could play out?
No, and here's the only reason why. Me personally,
okay.
I think that decision is going to be made before the game. I don't think we can wait. I think if you didn't have early signing and you didn't have transfer portal, you could wait, right? I mean, if signing day was in February and there was no transfer portal, you waited out. We are going to need to announce that coach the next day. And so I think that is already going to be inked and done with whoever it is. So I don't think Cadillac has enough time to earn the job. And I mean, I've heard reports that Cadillac may not even really want that position. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, there was even talk. I mean, Cadillac, he did an interview it was a good interview. It was Charles Barkley and who's the other guy on TNT that does their basketball? Ernie something?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. So he went on the show and they were talking about, hey, when you found out, he said I was nervous, and he talked to his running backs and he was like, how am I going to do this? And his running backs had to calm him down and say, look, the way you talk to us, that's how you need to talk to them. And he's like, yeah, but there's only like 7 of y'all. There's 100 of them, but they had to talk him in. So Cadillac, I think, is kind of a reserved guy, even though it doesn't come across. I don't know that he wants that spot. Eventually, I think he wants it. Yeah. I don't know if he even wants it right now, if I'm being honest.
Right. Well, and he knows he's been under some great coaches. He's been under as a player as well. And he understands that the way to get to the head coaching, the CEO of the team, there's a lot of things that you have to do to kind of build up to that. And sure, there are times where, that kind of surprise guy comes up and he's just thrust in that position. Absolutely. But I kind of agree. I don't know if Cadillac is even gunning for that. And honestly, I mean, he seems to kind of be in a mindset when he's been asked about it. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to, serve my team this year. I want to serve them through the end of the season until we get that next head coach, whether that's me or whoever else. And I think that's a great mindset to have. I mean, he's doing so good at being a running backs coach already, but there's a lot more to it, obviously, when you get to that head coach level.
Yeah, there's a lot of bull crap you have to deal with as a head coach, right? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you are the CEO of a company.
Right.
And I think Cadillac could absolutely do it. I don't know that he wants to at this moment. Cadillac loves loving on those guys. I think there's a little bit of freedom not being the head guy, in the sense that you can dive a little more into each individual kid, because you don't have to put up with the politicking and there's a lot. I mean, these guys get paid a lot of money, but man, there's a lot on their plate. And so I think Cadillac probably enjoys the aspect of being able to really just go get one-on-one with these guys. And it is harder. It's a lot easier to get one-on-one with 7 running backs than it is 100 players. But if they offered it to him, I don't think he turns it down. I just don't think he's going to be disappointed if he doesn't get it.
Yeah, I feel like that's I think that's a reasonable assessment of it. I mean, and again, I think for Auburn's success, I think if he somehow rallies this team and somehow we do beat Bama in Tuscaloosa, I think they have to probably consider it, but doesn't mean he's going to get the job. So let's kind of talk a little bit about what this Iron Bowl is looking at, like it's going to be like. There's the game's going to be Saturday at 2:30. Obviously, getting geared up for Thanksgiving. I think this episode's probably going to come out around on Thanksgiving, so you can always do some smack talk. Don't be afraid. Talk about how bad Alabama's looked over the past few games, and that I feel like you can easily do that because they've had some issues. I mean, this offense has pretty much kind of been run through Bryce Young. And yeah, Bryce Young has done his piece. He's done what he's had to. I mean, his stats this year are really great. You look at, he has 2,600 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. He has been very efficient and controls the ball and really doesn't turn the ball over. So, I mean, you've got a lot of things for Bama that can go well for them. Not to mention it's always the rivalry of the Iron Bowl. So, I mean, the kind of every player knows this is kind of where it really comes down to those bragging rights. I mean, for this year, I mean, Auburn it's not like we're playing. Yeah, are we playing for a bowl game? Probably. But for Alabama, they're out of the playoffs. They're kind of down in their own sense. So I feel like this could be kind of this weird game if somehow, Auburn is able to put together some sort of offense, which, hey, under Will Friend and Cadillac right now, I mean, we've put together some pretty fun stuff. Like I'm just thinking back to the last couple weeks, especially in the run game. I feel like we've come up with some very creative plays. Not only just like trick plays, but the kind of regular plays like the misdirection, the fake toss sweeps and then running it the other way, or, it looks like you're doing a jet sweep and then you actually go the opposite way. Those type of plays to me are so hard for a defense to read. And so when it comes down to how are we going to beat Bama? I think it has to do with some big eye candy, some, getting Alabama defenders to lose their contain or whatever it is and making them pay. So there is a chance, but I understand there's still a really big battle. I mean, we haven't won in Tuscaloosa in forever, it feels like. So for this team to do it, I mean, that would be such a story. But, we also have to be a little, temper those expectations a little bit. What's kind of your assessment of where this team is for Alabama that Auburn's about to face? They're 9-2, but they still have some very high caliber players on them. What are you kind of feeling out? Like, what can we do against them?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Alabama, and listen, there's a little hope the way we're playing, but I think Alabama's like number 20 in the country in run defense. So the only thing we do on offense, well, they are good at stopping.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be hard on us to move the ball. We also need to, when you don't throw very well, you need to be very clean, right? No penalties, no false starts, anything like that. I feel like at Mississippi State, our O linemen, were a little sloppy, false starting, holding a couple of times. We can't hurt ourselves at all. It's going to be on the road. It's got to be real clean of a game. But on the flip side of that, we kind of gave the blueprint of how to attack Alabama last year. I mean, we were able to get pressure on Bryce.
Yeah.
We have several of those key guys back. I don't think their O-line is much better. They are heavily reliant on their running back transfer from Georgia Tech, number one. They don't have the breakaway receivers like they've had in the past. They got a lot of five-star guys, but there's nobody that's like been able to really take any to the house on a slant route. I feel like our DBs are playing much better. I think we might be able to keep them lower scoring than most people anticipate, depending on how we can handle number one at running back. I just don't know how much we can score.
Yeah. Well, and that's my fear as well. Because, I mean, if you look at what Bama, I mean, if you kind of look at the more recent history of Bama, I mean, they're averaging around 30 points, 32, 34 points, and even against Austin Peay. So you're looking at that and you're like, all right, can we do that? Can we get to a little over 30 points? Because I think that gives you a legit chance to beat Alabama. And I mean, goodness knows, Derek Hall and our whole defense just wants to shut down Bama and play well against them. And if they can do that, I think we have a better chance than a lot of people think. Alabama's offense is so good most years, and they're still pretty good this year. It's just not up to the championship level that I'm sure most Alabama fans and are kind of hoping for out of this team.
Well, if you want to think too, so Texas, is not as good as people thought when Alabama played them, and Alabama struggled pretty big time with them. And then Texas A&M was a terrible play call away from beating Bama at Tuscaloosa.
Gosh.
I mean, it was at
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa. So,
Yep.
and A&M is not a good team. I mean, here's the reality. This is what college football should be, okay? And if we can just get it to start happening to Georgia, I feel like we're back to normal. Like Alabama, I think the superhuman effect has worn off. Okay, I think they're just like South Carolina destroying Tennessee. You got teams all over the country that are pulling upsets. That's what college football is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost parity for about 10 years. And I feel like some of it's coming back. And that will make football more exciting. I thought NIL and the transfer portal were going to destroy football, and it's still yet to be seen. I'm wondering if it's done the reverse and added more parity,
Maybe.
to where teams can turn it around really quickly, and players that are not playing are not just going to sit on a really good team's roster. They're going to go play somewhere else.
Yeah. One, I think that I remember very early on that Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney were very negative towards NIL because they were like, crap, this is about to even the playing field a little bit more. And I think you're kind of getting to that. You've seen Clemson come down, Alabama's coming down a little bit, Georgia's still kind of out there. It hurts me to say, but
even
I
look
think
at them. They sure, great team, right? But I don't think they scored a touchdown. Well, they may have scored one against Kentucky. I mean, it was like what was the final? 16-6.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia, they're dominant teams they've had in the past. Now they haven't lost. Kudos to them. But they almost lost to Missouri. They got one touchdown against Kentucky. Really, we boneheaded coaching, or we probably go into halftime 0-0 with them. You're seeing a little bit, it's not like, hey, the game's over by second quarter, I guess, which there's been a little bit of that in the past with Georgia and Alabama, and I feel like that's going away.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of coming back to Auburn's mentality of we're not scared of Alabama or Georgia. And I felt like for a while there we were legitimately scared. Like we came into the game thinking, crap, we're literally one mistake away from we don't have a chance. Whereas you come in and you say, we're just going to play Auburn football and we're going to play hard and play our game. I think that mentality change needs to happen. It is in the process of happening, even under Cadillac, before whoever our next coach is going to be. All right, Jared, let's talk about our players to watch for this game, and then we'll get into our score predictions for the Iron Bowl. All right, for this Iron Bowl, who are you going to be watching on offense?
I mean, it's obvious, but I think it's Robbie. I think we're going to have to get something out of him. Robbie's going to have to be in the 150, at least 150 passing range with no interceptions. I think if we get him in the 150 area passing, and maybe, I don't know, 40 to 50 yards rushing, I think that at least gives us a chance to do other stuff.
Yeah.
Or let other players make plays. If he can't get to that, if he's under 100 yards passing, there's no chance.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at kind of more recent history, him against like Western Kentucky, or even Mississippi State. He's not putting up any kind of crazy numbers on the passing game, but he's kind of doing what he has to, and setting up our run game. I mean, that's been our success, but I don't think you're going to be able to do that, especially with how good Alabama is at stopping the run. I mean, if Alabama's defense this year is on average allowing just a little over 100 yards per carry or per game. So, I mean, you're going to have to put up a heck of a game against them. And that's a lot. That's a lot for an Auburn team, but it's Iron Bowl. It's craziness. It can happen. For offense, I'm going to be watching really, I mean, none other than Tank Bigsby. Like, Tank Bigsby is going to, he's had some big games against Alabama. But I think this could be one of his bigger ones. He's got the capability. He's got the strength. He's got the power. He's got the speed too now, even this year, to get that breakaway speed. And if we stick to the run game, like I think Cadillac and Will Friend are probably going to do, sticking with it even when we're potentially down, Tank's he's gonna get that team back motivated and playing well. All right, let's talk about defense a little bit. Who are you gonna be watching on defense for Auburn?
I think probably Cam Riley, because I just think,
Yeah,
I just think
I haven't
that,
heard his name in a while.
I know, right? Well, I think you know what Owen is, and Owen's playing better. I think you know what stop. I think Cam, somebody's going to have to stop number one, and somebody's going to have to follow their tight end, Latu, I think's his name.
Yeah, lost it. Yep.
He's not like super athletic. He's just a big body, and he runs good routes. So he's a safety net for Bryce Young. So if we, that's a big task to keep an eye on the running back and the tight end. But I think if you take away those two weapons, if you nullify those two guys, I think you can win the ball game.
Yeah.
That's a big if. But
right.
The linebackers are going to play a huge factor in this game.
Yeah, and not many teams have been able to slow them down. So, I mean, it's a pretty tall task, but, if there's anybody to do it, I mean, Cam Riley has kind of showed up in the last few weeks. I think he was injured kind of earlier in this season. And, I mean, even this game, he was this last game against Western Kentucky, he was our leading tackler with 8 tackles and even had a tackle for loss. So, I mean, he is a player that I think is kind of the future of our linebacker core. All right, for defense, I'm going to be watching, and just because I love Derek Hall, I'm going to be watching Derek Hall. This is a game I'm sure he's got kind of circled. I mean, he had his last game in Jordan-Hare. He wants to go out on a good note as an Auburn Tiger, and what better way to do that than against your rival? And, I mean, I'm even going to pin it. I think he at least gets 1 sack this game. If we're lucky, he might even kind of get a strip sack or something crazy like that. So he's going to pin his ears back and have a fun time in this Iron Bowl. All right. For special teams, who are you going to be watching in this Alabama game?
I think we're going to be watching Alex McPherson. I mean, I think it's, obvious choice in that regard. He's young. He made 3 on the year, missed 1, and that was a pretty long one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on. He's going to be on the road. He was on the road to Mississippi State, I guess. No, that was Anders there. That's when he got hurt. Yeah, this will be the first time he's on the road. All right. So how does that affect him? Kicking's all mental. I mean, this guy, come on. If you make a college, if he's number 1 kicker in the nation, he knows how to kick a football.
Yes.
But can he kick a football when you have 90,000 people yelling at you to not kick it?
Yeah.
So it's all mental. So can he handle that? We'll see. We'll find out.
Right.
Hopefully it's close enough for that to matter.
Yeah, I mean, he's from Fort Payne, Alabama. So you got to think he's known this rivalry. He's known what this has been about probably growing up. And that, probably helps him get into a mindset of, all right, we got to, almost get in this zen-like state when you're out there kicking, and just kind of go through your routine and kick the ball, do what you're asked to do. And you can see Alex McPherson, I mean, even nailing a 52-yarder, you're seeing he has the leg. He looks, which is kind of interesting. Like, I looked at, kind of the height comparison of, Daniel Carlson, Anders Carlson, and now Alex McPherson. And Alex McPherson isn't the tallest guy out there. I mean, he's 5'9", a little kind of shorter for a kicker, but he has the leg, obviously, to do that. I mean, in high school, he was kicking 60-yarders. So, I mean, I have no doubt in his ability. The players I'll be watching, I mean, Alex McPherson is the easy one, but I really kind of want to see what Evan McGuire does on kickoffs. I'm just a little fearful of what we end up doing on kickoffs because I think Alabama is a team. If they get a little crease on a kickoff, they can return it for some long kickoffs. So kind of seeing what we end up doing on kickoffs with Evan McGuire. All right, let's talk about our score predictions for this Iron Bowl. Jared, how are you feeling? What are you thinking for this game?
Oh man, my heart tells me to pick an Auburn victory just to seal a crazy Cadillac story, but I just my brain won't let me. I mean, I think it's close. I mean, I think we lose by 10. I think it's a closer Iron Bowl. I just don't think they're super dominant, and I think our D is playing inspired football. So I just don't know if we can score a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say we lose the game by 10.
Yeah. Well, and my mindset is, especially with Bama only putting up around 32 points a game over the last 4 games, to me, that's telling me I think we score as Auburn probably in the 20s, like low 20s, and Bama probably puts up 35 or something. So I guess I'll make my official prediction. I think we lose by like 13 points. But again, what if our defense really does kind of what I think they're capable of, which is completely shutting out Bama for a half of a game? And how energizing would that be for that offense to see your defense putting you in that position? I mean, it's already shown our offense when they see that happening, they capitalize, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we held them to 3 points for 59 minutes last year.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can't do it. And I don't know, man. I mean, I really think if we can find a way to limit their big running plays, it could be an interesting ball game.
Yeah. So I saw this and I ended up tweeting it from the E2C account. So Auburn beat Missouri, Missouri beat South Carolina beat Tennessee, Tennessee beat Bama. Therefore, Auburn beats Bama. The transitive property.
It's over. Don't even play it.
It's never failed us in our life.
Roll the trees, call the game. That way we don't have to listen to CBS announcers and go through, 8-minute timeouts, commercial timeouts. I say we just call it. We beat them.
I'm down too. I mean, I'm ready to go head to Auburn and roll some trees.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, let's finish out with an Auburn fan perspective of the SEC. We've already mentioned a handful of these, Texas A&M just being Texas A&M at this point in the season and really only having a couple thousand fans, it looks like, at that game. There was something funny. There was a video of some fans in the upper deck, I think. They were shirtless and they had their, white towels that they, throw around or whatever. And they were doing like a relay race in the upper deck. And I was like, wait, this game has come to the point where shirtless guys are running around and doing like this relay race. What? like we all know, once the wave happens, at a game, like you see the wave going around the stadium, okay, that game's over. But for that, are you kidding me? That's like a new version of it.
The wave would have had a very difficult time in that game. It'd have been like,
yeah, maybe that's why they did it.
one guy stands up in one end of the end zone, and then a few minutes later, the other guy at the other end stands up. It's just two of them going back and forth.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't see the relay thing. That's interesting.
Yeah. But really, I mean, just think about this Texas A&M offense. I mean, they end up being the only SEC team that did not score 30 points against an FBS opponent this season. Are you kidding me? Like, I just can't even wrap my head around that. Like, that shows you, like, I mean, we've always said it, like, Jimbo Fisher's offense is very boring, not great, but I think that just shows it. Like, if Texas A&M wants any kind of success, they've got to go hire some sort of offensive coordinator to run their offense, because Jimbo is not that answer.
Did they score 30 at all this year? There was at one point they were on a stretch of like, I don't know, 10 games in a row of not scoring 27 or more. Maybe they.
Let's see.
That doesn't matter, but it was it's pretty bad.
No,
man.
You're so right. The first game they literally, and this was against Sam Houston, which I think is FCS. They scored 31, but every other game was, I think the highest was 28. What?
They did. Yeah, you're right. They put 31 against Sam Houston, and then the rest of the way it was bad.
Yeah, real bad. Real bad.
Yep. They scored 28 against Ole Miss. That was their next highest output.
Yeah, and we all know Ole Miss's defense is not great, but
Yeah. Yeah, if they keep him, they're gonna have to go. They keep. You know what'll happen this season, right? They're playing LSU. They'll probably beat them. That's just the season's kind of just going that way.
What if that happens though? Like, oh my gosh. I mean, and LSU's already locked up the West, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, LSU is not great. They did enough. They won the games they needed to win. But they like, if Robbie Ashford, no, I'm not knocking Robbie, but if Robbie doesn't give them a fumble touchdown,
oh my gosh,
we win with Harsin as our coach.
Yes, right.
I watched them play Mississippi State. Mississippi State's punter or punt returner takes one off the face mask at his own 5, or Mississippi State wins that game. Here's the point. It wouldn't be crazy.
Right.
I mean, Tennessee boat raced them in Baton Rouge, like 42-10 or something. So it would not surprise me if it happened.
Well, I mean, it's just college football.
College football.
Another kind of interesting one. Vandy upset Florida. And guess what? The fans rushed the field. So if you haven't seen that video, just go look it up. It's a madhouse.
I wouldn't call it rushing.
I mean, by rushing the field, like, it was literally a walk on the field in a single file line, very orderly, thinking about their future as doctors and hoping that their hands don't get injured because that's their moneymaker.
If you've not seen the video, AJ is not exaggerating. Like, there was nothing rushing about it. It was they entered the field. That's the way you should say it. They entered the field.
Yes. And guess what? You've seen some crazy rush in the fields, especially from Auburn. And guess what? Vandy also got fined the same way that Auburn did. And yet they did it in the most controlled fashion. So, Vandy, you did it wrong. You just did it wrong.
I mean, I get that, okay, you can't go on the field. You got to fine. But two things are not equal. What Tennessee did and what Vandy did are not the same thing.
Oh, no.
They don't cause the same threat to anybody.
So true.
So it's just funny they got fined the same amount.
No, that's so true. And then we had a couple other crazy upsets. South Carolina upset number 5 Tennessee. And, man, Rattler had easily his best game of the season. 6 touchdowns, which is a career high. I think there was also passing yards, also a career high. I mean, he was just showing out that game. And it's kind of cool to see him. I mean, going from Oklahoma, not the greatest of situations, goes over to South Carolina, hasn't had the best of seasons there. And, he has the potential, obviously, to do some great stuff, but yet he hasn't. And, I mean, it was also it was one of those things where Rattler was having the game of his life and Tennessee was just choking every single time. I was like, wow, Tennessee is definitely not in this. Like, not even for one moment was I thinking, wow, Tennessee is in this. Like, what a weird thing. Like, how good Tennessee has been and how they were able to beat Bama this year too. And yet that's what they did.
I mean, Spencer Rattler was just on fire. Like, he could not incomplete passes. I've never everything he threw was completed. It was just their night, man. But the saddest thing is I heard that Hendon Hooker tore his ACL, so he's done.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's terrible for Tennessee and for him. I hope he was able to. I don't know how old he is, but if he's a senior, I hope he got some NIL money. If he's not a senior, he'll be coming back and getting some NIL money. So. Yeah.
Man, yeah. I mean, he's an older guy, kind of like, Stetson Bennett, the 15th or whatever he is.
Yeah, Stetson's like 87 at this point.
Yeah. Another upset, which, man, I was not honestly expecting this many upsets this week. Arkansas beat number 14 Ole Miss. We're looking at Lane Kiffin. I mean, it just kept running through my head. I was like, has Lane Kiffin truly moved on? Is he thinking about that next game? Because a few years ago, he was on Bama's staff right before the national championship, and essentially Saban kind of pushed him out the door, right? And Is that what's happening? Is he on to the next job?
I mean, I don't know if he's coming to us, but I could easily. It's a weird industry, right? Like at this point, Auburn and him know. Let's say if he had, I think if he's accepted, he's accepted. So
Right.
he's accepted. He's actually officially going to be hired at another position, and he can't tell anybody at his current position.
Mm-hmm.
And he's having to. I mean, whether it's Lane or not, this is how it works with everybody. Forget Lane, put Coach X in this position. And so he's having to coach a current team while he is probably thinking about how he's going to structure things at his future job.
Yeah.
It's just a weird industry.
Yeah.
And it keeps changing and evolving. Like you didn't used to fire coaches mid-season. Now you have to because early signing day. There may become a day where it's not considered totally quitting on your team for going ahead and making this known because that gives everybody enough time to plan, right?
Right.
We're still in that era where, okay, you got to pretend like nothing's going on. You keep status quo, keep coaching what you're doing. But at some point, there's not enough time to do that because Ole Miss needs to now know they need to be looking for a new coach.
Yeah. Well, and even Ole Miss, I was thinking about their players too. Like, I'm sure, I mean, for goodness sakes, in that game, Arkansas fans were chanting Auburn, Auburn,
Yeah, that's
Auburn.
crazy.
Like, they were trolling, Kiffin while they were just beating his team up. That, what if truly he is, going to be Auburn's next head coach? And he's truly got his mind. I mean, so that's kind of where, head coaching, I'm like, just finish your job. Like, finish the job that you were hired to do. And yet he's not doing that. It's crazy. But, okay, here's one crazy stat from that game. Ole Miss, even though they only put up, 27 points and lost by 25 points, they had 703 yards of offense.
703?
Like, 703. Like, most teams combined, like, there's some games where you don't have combined both teams making that many yards. What?
703 yards of offense.
And only have 27 points to account for it. What?
Yeah. Yeah, I do know.
Wow.
I did see 2 touchdowns came off the board because of penalties.
Yeah.
And I think they had a couple of turnovers. But still, that is almost impossible to have 700 yards of offense and only 27 points.
That doesn't seem reasonable at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rest of the games were kind of cupcakey type games. So, that's just the way it is. I feel like right before rivalry week, I mean, goodness, this is going to be fun. I mean, I'm already thinking about just how much all these rivalry games are going to be over this next, even starting on, Thanksgiving into Saturday. It's going to be so much fun.
All right, real quick. So if it is Lane, I have no idea.
Okay.
It may not be. Whatever. If it's not, if it is, do they announce it Friday or do they wait till after the Iron Bowl? Because the Egg Bowl is Thursday night.
I have heard this before. I've seen some people throwing around. They announce it Friday. There's even some people that legitimately think that. And I was like, that's very interesting. I feel like if I'm Auburn, I don't know if that benefits us. Maybe it does, but I don't think so.
If Lane and Caddy, like, let's say Lane's going to keep Caddy, so Caddy's like, yeah, sure, come on the sideline. Does Lane just stand on our sideline waving at Saban during the game? Like, because he likes to troll him, right?
Right. Like, that's his sole position. I love it.
Yeah, like if he's just on the sideline, just kind of waving at him, winking at him, like just kind of toning him a little bit.
Yeah.
That might be a benefit of announcing Friday. And again, people are going to be like, you're crazy for thinking you could even get – I don't know if we're getting Lane from Ole Miss. I will say Ole Miss fans are super confident.
Yes.
And they seem to think they are one of the best programs in the SEC. And I will let you, the listener, go look at stats to figure that out yourself because there is data out there to prove this.
Yes.
Ole Miss fans, though, do think they are one of the best programs in the SEC. But however, if we do get Lane, he comes to Auburn, I think it'd be funny to have him spend the whole game just kind of playing the crowd and trolling Saban.
Oh my gosh, it would be so beautiful. And I just have a feeling he's got, just because he did live in Alabama for so long, especially even Tuscaloosa, like he just wants to get back. Like that's kind of one of the bigger things is like I feel like he just wants to get back to Alabama. I don't know. Maybe it's just a gut feeling.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it probably is him, but I'm not going to be surprised if it's not.
Yeah. Well, Auburn kind of in a history of getting head coaches, we've had issues, getting that next big name. We've always seen, those first 2 or 3 top names that we're like, ooh, that would be nice to get. We haven't worked out to get those guys. But if Auburn's willing and truly wants to throw around the big dollar bills, you got a chance with Lane.
Here's why I think here's why my argument for why it may happen. It's a unique situation in the sense that we are probably the best job available. Lane is at a position where I think he has probably proven he's maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really good team at home against Bama and couldn't win.
Yep.
NIL is now probably the deciding factor of your roster and how good it will be.
And Auburn's got a incredible NIL collective that,
yes.
I mean, everybody keeps saying that sleeping giant. Like, I legitimately think we have some money to throw around.
Well, there's no doubt Auburn has no problem throwing money at football.
Yeah, that's true.
We have thrown a ton to make people go away. If we will just start throwing a ton at people here, which I think we're willing to do, then yes, I guess the scenario is it's almost a perfect storm to land Lane. Yeah. Because Lane has also been very vocal about the fact that it takes NIL to succeed now. Mm-hmm. He is not shying away from it like some coaches. He understands it, diving into it. Lane is not without flaws, okay? Lane has not won really any big games in his career, and sometimes he makes boneheaded decisions when he should go for it and not, and sometimes his defense aren't the best.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think he's one of the best offensive minds in football. You give him an NIL and a staff and a university that supports him, and I think it could be really good.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking, if you do have Lane, he's already got that offense. If you make a great defensive coordinator hire, yes. I think that could be such a powerful combination for us.
Yes.
Because we have the defensive players. It's just a matter of your system and how they're coached. And if you do those things well, great defense, and you have Lane's offense, you got a pretty great situation there. I'm not saying we're going to win a championship next year, but you're moving in the direction of you're better than you were the year previous.
Yeah, when Lane comes in, my goal is not to even win the West. Like the first 2 years, you're like, see improvement. Like try to get us to 9 wins.
Yep. Even 8 wins, I would honestly be fine with 8 wins.
Eight next year. Let's get to 9, maybe 10 the next 9. Keep improving and have great recruiting. Let's see improvement. And at the end of the day, I think it's almost a guarantee you're going to win 8 wins if you hire Lane. I think that's his floor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's doing that at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think that's his floor. So that's why people, Lane hadn't done this. I'm like, agreed. But there's a lot of coaches that haven't done a lot of things. What he is doing is winning at a program that is traditionally not as financially sound as Auburn. Mm-hmm. And right now money is king in college football.
Yep, it really is. All right, Jared, before we get out of here, how can the people stay in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY, JAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger and War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.